My fiancée once announced, "I'm keeping my dating apps active, just in case." I just looked at her and said, "Smart move." Then, when she found out I'd reactivated mine too, her just in case suddenly became, "Please don't leave." And that's when I realized I was the one keeping her as my backup plan. Hey, Reddit. Never thought I'd be posting here, but life's been throwing some curveballs lately, and I need to get this off my chest. Names are changed, obviously, because the last thing I need is for this to blow up my real life any more than it already has. So, I'm a 29-year-old guy. Up until recently, I thought I was living the dream. Solid job in tech, a nice apartment downtown, and engaged to what I believed was the perfect woman. Let's call her Madison. She's 27, works in marketing at some trendy startup that sells overpriced wellness products to Instagram influencers. We'd been together 3 years, engaged for 8 months. The proposal. It was picture perfect. I took her to that fancy rooftop restaurant she'd been hinting about for months. Got down on one knee with her grandmother's ring, the one she specifically requested. She posted it everywhere, and for a while it looked like the modern fairy tale it was supposed to be. Madison was the type of woman who looked amazing on paper, and she knew it. Pilates instructor body, flawless makeup even at 7 a.m. She was one of those people who could make drinking green juice look aspirational. Her Instagram had about 15,000 followers, mostly because she knew exactly how to pose, and had zero shame about posting thirst traps disguised as lifestyle content. She was obsessed with appearances and status symbols. Designer handbags she couldn't afford. Restaurants she picked out specifically for their Instagram potential. Workout clothes that cost more than most people's rent. Madison treated life like a constant photo shoot, always angling for that perfect shot to make other women jealous and men slide into her DMs. Looking back, I should have noticed the red flags, especially how she talked about her exes. Every breakup was their fault. Every guy was intimidated by strong women, or couldn't handle her success. She always had a story that painted her as the victim. I believed her, though, because I was crazy about her and couldn't imagine anyone not wanting to keep her happy. For the first 2 years, everything really was solid. She was fun, ambitious, had this energy that made even boring weekends feel like adventures. We traveled, ate at the right restaurants, hung out with couple friends who envied us. I was convinced I'd hit the relationship jackpot. But around month 3 of our engagement, things started to shift. Not dramatically. Just little things that piled up like interest on a loan you forgot about. She got a new phone, and suddenly she was glued to it 24/7. Not just scrolling, typing, replying, full-on conversations while I sat there trying to talk about wedding plans or even dinner. Work stuff, she'd say when I asked. But apparently, her company had been in launch season for 6 months straight, because that phone obsession never stopped. Then came the nights out. Madison had always been social, but suddenly she was having girls' nights 3 times a week. Nothing wrong with that, except when I ran into her friends around town, they'd casually mention they hadn't seen Madison in weeks. "Oh, she must have been with her other friend group," they'd say, looking confused. What other friend group? I thought I knew all her friends after 3 years. Still, I didn't push. I didn't want to be the controlling fiancé who tracks his woman's every move. The bigger red flag. Her constant new way of criticizing me. Always through comparisons. Derek from my spin class surprises his girlfriend with random weekend trips. Isn't that romantic? Or, Chloe's boyfriend sent her flowers at work just because it was Tuesday. Some guys just know how to keep the spark alive. Or even, look how he's pulling out her chair. That's so sweet. Some guys still know how to be gentlemen. She'd scroll through Instagram and point out rings more unique than hers, dates that looked more fun, guys who really knew how to treat their women. Meanwhile, I was the guy bringing her coffee in bed every morning for 2 years. The guy who planned date nights, remembered every little thing she wanted, surprised her with concert tickets, treated her to that expensive spa for her birthday. I even learned to make her favorite Thai curry from scratch because she mentioned missing it from her hometown. But suddenly, I was the boyfriend who wasn't romantic enough. Her criticism spread to everything. My clothes were too basic, my car too old, my apartment not Instagram-worthy. Even my friends weren't good enough. Nice, sure, but not really going anywhere compared to the finance bros she met at spin class or her coworkers' boyfriends. Looking back, it's clear she was setting the stage, building a narrative that I wasn't enough, that she deserved better, that our relationship had gone stale. Classic pre-breakup behavior. Except we weren't dating casually. We were engaged. The breaking point came on a random Tuesday night about 3 weeks ago. I got home early, started cooking a pasta dish I'd found on YouTube. Madison came home around 7, glued to her phone as usual. Barely looked up. "Hey babe," I said. "Dinner's almost ready. Thought we could eat. Then look at those venue photos your mom sent." She glanced up for maybe 2 seconds. "Actually, I already ate. Grabbed something with the team after work." Third time that week. I was starting to feel less like her fiancé and more like a roommate she occasionally slept with. "Cool," I said, keeping my voice neutral. "Maybe we can still look at the venue stuff. Wedding's 6 months away. We haven't locked anything down." She sighed, like I'd asked her to perform brain surgery. "Jake, we need to talk about that." Every guy knows those words. Nothing good follows "we need to talk." I turned off the stove, gave her my full attention. "What's up?" For the first time in weeks, she put her phone down. Her face was serious, unreadable, like she was about to say something that would change everything. "I've been thinking a lot about us lately," she started. Her tone was calm, the kind people use when they're about to blow up your life but want to sound reasonable doing it. "Okay." I braced myself. "And I think maybe we're moving too fast with this whole marriage thing." My stomach dropped, but I kept my face neutral. "What do you mean?" "I mean, we're young. We haven't really experienced other people or explored what else is out there. What if we get married, then realize we missed out on something better?" There it was again, that word. Better. "So, are you saying you want to break up?" I asked. No, she said quickly. "I love you. I want to marry you eventually. I just think maybe we should keep our options open for a while. You know, date other people, see what's out there, make sure we're making the right choice." I just stared at her. "You want to date other people while we're engaged?" "I want us both to date other people. Think of it as research. Making sure we're compatible long-term." The audacity. My fiancé had just suggested we run a market research phase on our relationship. And how exactly would that work? I asked. "Well, we could keep living together, keep the engagement, but just explore. See other people." She paused, then added casually, "I've already reactivated my dating apps, actually. Just to see what's out there." She said it like she was talking about picking up milk at the store, not like she'd just nuked our entire engagement. "You reactivated your dating apps?" I repeated. "Just Bumble and Hinge. Not Tinder. That one's too sketchy. But still. Yeah, I think it's important to know what our options are. You should do it too. Keep your apps active, just in case." Just in case. Like our engagement was nothing more than a backup plan while she shopped around for something better. Here's the thing. I could have blown up, screamed, thrown the ring back at her, stormed out in some dramatic rage. That's probably what she expected, maybe even what she wanted, so she could paint me as the unhinged ex who couldn't handle her exploring her options. Instead, I just smiled and said, "You know what? That's actually really smart." She blinked, clearly not expecting that response. "It is, absolutely. Why commit to something without knowing what else is available? It's like buying a car without test driving other models first." I could see the wheels turning in her head. She had expected resistance, jealousy, maybe even some begging. Instead, I was agreeing with her insane plan. "So you're okay with this?" she asked, sounding almost disappointed. "More than okay. I think it's brilliant. We should both explore our options. Really make sure we're not settling." The word settling hit her weird. I could see it in her face, like she hadn't considered that maybe I was the one who might find someone better. "Great," she said, but her voice had lost some of its confidence. "So we're on the same page then." Completely. In fact, I think I'll reactivate my apps tonight. Really put myself out there. See what I've been missing. For the next week, Madison threw herself into her research with the enthusiasm of someone who just discovered fire. She was on her phone constantly, getting ready for coffee dates and casual dinners with guys from the apps. Meanwhile, I played the supportive fiancée, asked how her dates went, told her she looked great when she dressed up for other men, even offered to help her pick out profile photos. "You really don't mind?" she asked one night, clearly confused by my lack of jealousy. "Babe, you said it yourself. We need to be sure. How can I be mad at you for making sure I'm the right choice?" What Madison didn't know was that I'd done exactly what I said I would. I reactivated my dating apps, updated my photos, put recently single in my bio, because let's be honest, that's what I was. The response was interesting. Within 48 hours, I had more matches than I'd gotten in my entire single life. Turns out being an employed guy in his late 20s with his own place and no obvious red flags is apparently prime real estate in the dating market. My phone was buzzing constantly. Coffee dates, dinner invitations, women who were actually excited to text me back instead of treating conversation like a chore. It was like taking off glasses I didn't even know I'd been wearing. Suddenly, I could see how much effort I'd been putting into someone who treated my attention like a subscription service she was thinking about canceling. The first date was with Emma, a nurse who'd super liked me on Bumble. We met for coffee and ended up talking for 3 hours without her checking her phone once. She laughed at my jokes, asked about my work, seemed genuinely interested in getting to know me. Emma was different from Madison in every way that mattered. She didn't care about Instagram or taking the perfect selfie. She wore minimal makeup and still looked stunning. When I told her about my job in tech, she asked detailed questions about what I actually did, not just nodded politely while thinking about something else. "This is probably forward," she said as we were leaving. "But would you want to get dinner this weekend?" When was the last time Madison had asked me out? When was the last time she'd seemed excited to spend time with me? When was the last time she'd even suggested something we could do together that didn't involve her posting about it online? I said yes. The second date was with Priya, a lawyer who owned her own practice. Smart, funny, gorgeous. And when I mentioned I was into hiking, she actually knew the trails I was talking about instead of just nodding politely like Madison always did. Priya had stories about her travels that weren't just about which restaurants had the best lighting for photos. She'd backpacked through Southeast Asia, learned to cook authentic dishes from locals, could hold conversations in 3 languages. When she showed me pictures from her trips, they were candid shots of real experiences, not posed Instagram content. "I've been wanting to do that trail you mentioned," she said during our second coffee date. "Would you want to do it together this weekend? I promise I can keep up." Madison had always made excuses when I suggested outdoor activities. Too sweaty, too early, too hard on her nails, would mess up her hair, what if someone saw her looking less than perfect? The third was with Sarah, a teacher who baked bread as a hobby and actually brought me homemade sourdough on our first coffee date. When was the last time Madison had done something thoughtful for me just because? Sarah's sourdough came with a handwritten note explaining the process she'd used, the type of flour, how long she'd let it rise. She was passionate about things that had nothing to do with social media validation. Her apartment was filled with books, plants, and artwork she'd actually bought from local artists instead of whatever was trending on Pinterest. "I make a new loaf every Sunday," she told me. "It's my meditation time. Would you want to learn? I could teach you the process." Madison's idea of cooking was heating up expensive prepared meals and photographing them with perfect lighting. By the end of week 2, I had dinner plans every night for the next month. My dating calendar was fuller than it had ever been, even in college. Madison, meanwhile, seemed to be having a very different experience. I'd catch her complaining on the phone to her friends about guys who only wanted hookups, men who didn't look like their photos, dates who expected her to split the check. "It's just so disappointing," she told her friend Kelly one night while I was in the kitchen. "Like, where are all the good guys?" The conversations I overheard told a completely different story than her confident social media posts. The guys who seemed perfect online turned out to be players in person. The successful finance bros she was so excited about treated her like one of many options. The attractive guys with great photos? Personalities like wet cardboard. This one guy spent the entire dinner talking about his ex, she complained to another friend. Like, why are you even on dating apps if you're not over her? I almost laughed. The good guys were probably at home making dinner for their fiancés. Fiancés who were out on dates with other people. But I kept playing supportive. How's the exploring going, babe? It's educational, she said, which I interpreted as terrible, but I can't admit it. Anyone interesting? A few prospects. What about you? Have you been dating here and there? Nothing serious. Just getting a feel for what's out there, like you said. The truth. I was having the time of my life. Not just because of the dates, but because I remembered what it felt like to be appreciated. To have someone actually excited to see me, to feel wanted instead of tolerated. Meanwhile, Madison's dates were getting progressively worse. She started coming home earlier and earlier, looking more frustrated than glowing with excitement like those first few nights. I'd hear her on the phone with her friends, analyzing what went wrong, making excuses for why guys weren't texting back, wondering if there was something wrong with her approach. Maybe I'm being too picky, she told Kelly one night. But I just feel like these guys aren't on my level, you know? The irony was completely lost on her. She was discovering that the dating market wasn't nearly as eager to cater to her as she'd expected. That being attractive and having Instagram followers didn't automatically translate to quality options. That the guys she wanted were probably looking for something she wasn't offering. By then, Emma and I had gone on 4 dates. She'd cooked for me. We'd gone to a museum. Spent a whole Saturday hiking and talking. She kissed me goodnight after date 3, and it felt like coming alive after months of being a ghost. Priya and I had this intellectual connection that Madison and I had never had. We could talk about books, politics, travel, ambitions. She challenged me in ways that made me want to be better. Sarah was just pure sunshine. She laughed at everything, found joy in small things, made me remember why I used to be an optimistic person before Madison's constant criticism wore me down. And the crazy part, none of them knew about the others. I wasn't lying or cheating. Madison and I had agreed to this arrangement. I was just doing exactly what she'd suggested, exploring my options. The shift happened around week 3. Madison's research was clearly not going well, while mine was exceeding all expectations. She started making comments. You seem different lately, she said one morning while I was getting ready for work, humming some song Emma had introduced me to. Different how? I don't know. Happier, more confident. Because I was. For the first time in months, I felt like myself again. Not the diminished version of myself that had been desperately trying to be enough for someone who'd already checked out. Must be all that exploring, I said. Really opens your eyes to what's possible. She didn't like that answer. The questions started getting more specific. Where was I going? Who was I seeing? What were they like? Just checking out the market like you suggested, I'd say. Making sure I'm making an informed decision. One night, she came home from a particularly bad date. Some finance bro who'd spent the entire evening talking about his crypto portfolio, to find me getting ready to go out. Another date? She asked. And there was something in her voice I hadn't heard before. Jealousy, insecurity. Dinner with Sarah, I said, adjusting my tie. She's making her famous lasagna. She's cooking for you? Yeah. She loves to cook. Says it's her love language. Madison just stared at me. She hadn't cooked for me once in the past 6 months. Don't wait up, I said, kissing her cheek. Sarah mentioned something about a movie after dinner. I could feel her watching me leave, probably wondering when I'd become the kind of guy who had multiple women making him dinner. The answer. When I stopped trying to squeeze myself into a relationship with someone who'd already mentally moved on. That weekend, Madison tried a different approach. Suddenly, she was interested in spending time together again. Suggested we go to that farmer's market she used to love. Maybe grab brunch after. I feel like we haven't connected in a while, she said, which was rich, considering she'd been the one exploring for the past month. Sure, I said. But I've got plans with Priya at 2. Some art gallery opening she invited me to. Can't you reschedule? Nah, she's been looking forward to it. You understand, right? We both need to prioritize our exploring. For the first time since this whole thing started, Madison looked genuinely upset. Not disappointed or annoyed. Actually hurt. I just thought maybe we could spend some time together as us. We are spending time together. We're living together, sharing this experience. Isn't that what you wanted? She couldn't argue with that logic because it was exactly what she'd suggested. The farmer's market was awkward. Madison kept trying to recreate our old dynamic. Grabbing my hand, taking selfies, acting like the perfect couple. But every time my phone buzzed with a text from one of my dates, her smile would falter. You're really popular these days, she said after my phone went off for the 4th time. Just staying busy. Speaking of which, I should probably head out soon. Don't want to keep Priya waiting. Right. Priya. And the way she said the name, like it tasted bad in her mouth. That night, Madison tried to initiate sex for the first time in weeks. I wasn't interested. I'm pretty tired, I said. Long day, you know. She looked shocked. In 3 years together, I'd never turned her down. Are you getting your needs met elsewhere? Are you? I countered. She didn't answer, which was answer enough. Look, this was your idea, I said gently. We're both exploring. Some exploration is more successful than others. The next week, Madison's entire energy changed. She stopped going on dates, started spending more time at home, began making comments about how the dating scene was worse than she remembered. These guys are all just looking for hookups, she complained. Nobody wants anything real. That's too bad, I said while texting Emma about our weekend plans. Maybe you'll have better luck next week. Meanwhile, my dating life was reaching new heights. Emma and I had become exclusive, sort of as exclusive as you can be when you're engaged to someone else who suggested you both date other people. Priya had introduced me to her friend group, and they'd all told her she'd hit the jackpot with me. Apparently, finding a guy who listens, plans thoughtful dates, and doesn't just want to Netflix and chill was rare. Sarah had started leaving little care packages at my office. Homemade cookies, thoughtful notes, small gifts that showed she was actually paying attention to my life. I felt wanted, appreciated, like I brought value to someone's world instead of just being tolerated in it. Madison noticed the change in my confidence. How could she not? I was walking taller, smiling more, humming songs I'd discovered through women who actually shared their interests with me instead of just criticizing mine. Jake, she said one night while I was getting ready for another date. Can we talk? Sure. What's up? I think maybe this exploring thing has run its course. I raised an eyebrow. Already? It's only been a month. I've seen what's out there and I know what I want. And what's that? Us. This. Our engagement. Our future. I finished buttoning my shirt before responding. That's great, babe. I'm glad you're feeling more confident about your choice. Our choice, she corrected. Aren't you ready to stop exploring too? Actually, I'm just getting started. There's a lot out there I haven't seen yet. Her face fell. What do you mean? I mean exactly what you said a month ago. We're young. We should experience other people. See what else is available. Make sure we're not settling. But I'm not settling. I know I want you. That's nice. But I'm still doing my research. For the first time since this whole thing started, Madison looked genuinely panicked. Jake, I made a mistake. This whole thing was stupid. I don't want to explore anymore. I want us to get back to normal. Normal? I laughed. What's normal? You mean where I cook dinner every night while you text other guys? Where I plan our entire relationship while you criticize everything I do? Where I try to be enough for someone who's already mentally shopping for my replacement? She started crying. Not the manipulative tears she used when she wanted something. Real ugly crying. I never said you weren't enough. You didn't have to. Your actions said it loud and clear. Please don't do this. Don't throw away what we have. What we have. Madison, you're the one who threw it away when you decided to keep your options open. I'm just doing the same thing. But I changed my mind. That's your prerogative. Doesn't change mine. She grabbed my arm as I headed for the door. Jake, please. I love you. I want to marry you. I'll delete the apps. I'll cancel all my dates. I'll do whatever you want. I looked at her. Really looked at her. A month ago, hearing her say those words would have meant everything. Now they just sounded desperate. Here's the thing, Madison. A month ago, I would have done anything to hear you say that. I would have gotten down on my knees and begged you to choose me. So let's go back to that. Let's start over. But I've learned something these past few weeks. I've learned what it feels like to be someone's first choice instead of their backup plan. And I'm not going back. I'm not asking you to go back. I'm asking you to choose us. Like you chose us when you reactivated your dating apps? Like you chose us when you went on dates with other men while wearing my ring? She had no answer for that. You said something interesting that first night, I continued. You said we should keep our options open, just in case. Well, I found my just in case. Actually, I found several. You're seeing multiple women, just like you were seeing multiple men. Difference is, they actually want to be with me. Madison's crying intensified. I want to be with you too. No. You want to be with the idea of me, the security, the safe choice. But you don't actually want me. If you did, you wouldn't have needed to shop around to figure that out. I headed for the door again. I'll be back late. Don't wait up. Where are you going? Emma's making dinner. Then we're going to that concert you said you didn't want to go to. The next few days were tense. Madison kept trying to have serious conversations about our future. While I continued dating like she'd suggested, she tried different tactics. First, she played the victim. How could I do this to her? How could I string her along? How could I be so cruel? I'm not stringing you along, I pointed out. I'm doing exactly what you suggested. Exploring my options, making sure I don't settle. Then she tried guilt. What about our families, our friends, our wedding plans? What about them? You were willing to risk all of that for your exploring. Why is it different when I do it? Finally, she tried bargaining. What if we compromised? What if we both stopped dating other people and just focused on us? That's not really a compromise, Madison. That's just you wanting to change the rules because you're not winning the game you started, I told her. I'm not trying to win anything. Aren't you? You started this whole thing because you thought you could do better than me. Now you're panicking because it turns out I can definitely do better than you. That one hit hard. She actually recoiled like I'd slapped her. That's not. I never said I could do better. You didn't have to. Everything about your behavior screamed it. The constant criticism, the comparisons to other guys, the sudden need to see what else was out there. You treated me like a placeholder while you looked for an upgrade. I was just scared of commitment. And I'm just scared of settling. Funny how that works. 3 weeks into Madison's newfound desperation to fix our relationship, I made a decision. Actually, 3 decisions. First, I told Emma how I felt about her. Really felt. She'd been patient while I figured out my situation, never pressuring me, just being amazing and letting me come to my own conclusions. I know this is complicated, I told her over dinner at that little bistro we discovered together. But I want to be with you. Really be with you. What about Madison? What about her? She wanted to explore other options. I found mine. Emma smiled. That incredible smile that had hooked me from day one. I was hoping you'd say that. We talked for hours that night about what we both wanted. Emma had been in a similar situation with her ex. Someone who took her for granted until she finally left. She understood why I needed to be sure, why I couldn't just jump from one relationship to another without being certain. I've never felt this way about anyone, I told her honestly. You make me want to be the best version of myself. You already are, she said, reaching across the table to take my hand. That's what I fell for. Second, I had a real conversation with Priya and Sarah. They'd both known about each other. I'd been honest about dating multiple people while figuring things out. They were fine with it ending, and we parted as friends. You seem happier when you talk about Emma, Sarah had said. Go for it. Priya agreed, adding, life's too short to settle for someone who doesn't see your worth immediately. Both of them were incredible women who deserved guys who would choose them first, not someone working through baggage from a previous relationship. They both had dates lined up already. Apparently, good women don't stay single long when they're actually available. Third, I had the conversation with Madison that had been a long time coming. I'm done exploring, I told her one evening when she started her daily plea for us to get back to normal. Her face lit up. Really? So we can... I'm done because I found what I was looking for. Just not with you. The light died in her eyes instantly. I'm moving out this weekend. Emma and I are getting a place together. Emma, the nurse? The woman who cooks for me because she wants to, not because she has to. The woman who asks about my day and actually listens to the answer. The woman who doesn't need to shop around to figure out if I'm worth her time. Madison started crying again. You can't be serious. You're throwing away 3 years for someone you've known for a month. I'm not throwing away anything. You already did that when you decided our engagement wasn't enough for you. I made a mistake. Yeah, you did. You mistook my patience for weakness, my loyalty for desperation, my love for something you could take for granted. I'll do anything to fix this. There's nothing to fix, Madison. This isn't broken. It's finished. I started packing that night. Not dramatically, not in anger. Just methodically gathering my stuff while Madison alternated between begging and threatening. You'll regret this. You'll realize what you had and come crawling back. Maybe, but I doubt it. Emma doesn't know you like I do. She'll get tired of you eventually. Possibly. But at least she wanted to try in the first place. The moving truck came on Saturday. Emma helped me pack, and I watched Madison's face when she saw her. Beautiful, kind, obviously happy to be there. Everything Madison had stopped being somewhere along the way. This is her. Madison asked like she couldn't believe I'd chosen someone so normal. This is her. She's not even that pretty. Emma just smiled. It's nice to meet you, Madison. Jake told me a lot about you. I hadn't told Emma much. Actually, I didn't need to bash my ex to make myself feel better about moving on. Emma was secure enough to not need the details of why my previous relationship had failed. She was more interested in building something new than dissecting something dead. Madison kept making comments while we packed. You're really going to throw away 3 years for someone you barely know? She seems nice, but is she really relationship material? What happens when the novelty wears off? Each comment revealed more about Madison's mindset than mine. She couldn't fathom that I might have found someone better because she'd never seen me as someone capable of attracting quality. In her mind, I should be grateful for whatever scraps of attention she was willing to give me. Emma handled it with more grace than Madison deserved. She helped pack my books, asking about which ones were my favorites. She carefully wrapped my electronics and made sure nothing got damaged. She even brought coffee and pastries for everyone helping with the move. Jake told me you're a nurse, Madison said at one point, like she was fishing for something to criticize. That must be challenging. I love it, Emma replied simply. There's nothing better than helping people when they need it most. Madison clearly expected more, a complaint about the hours, the stress, the pay. Something she could use to feel superior. When it didn't come, she looked frustrated. As we loaded the last box, Madison made one final attempt. Jake, please don't leave me. I love you. I'll be better. I'll be the woman you fell in love with. I looked at her. Really looked at her one last time. The woman I fell in love with wouldn't have needed to explore other options to figure out what she wanted. She would have known. That's not fair. Fair. You started this whole thing by telling me you wanted to keep your dating apps active just in case. Well, congratulations. Your just-in-case scenario came true. Emma was waiting in my truck, giving us space for this final conversation. What am I supposed to do now? Madison asked. Whatever you want. That's what you said you wanted. Freedom to explore. You've got it. I want you. You had me. All of me. For 3 years I was completely yours. But that wasn't enough for you then, and I'm not available now. I got in the truck next to Emma, who squeezed my hand. Ready? She asked. Yeah, I'm ready. As we drove away, I saw Madison in the rearview mirror standing in front of our old building, watching us leave. I didn't feel vindictive or vengeful. I felt free. Madison texts me sometimes. Updates about how she's working on herself and ready to be the partner I deserve, how she's learned her lesson and knows what real love is now. I don't respond. Not because I'm angry, but because I've moved on. Really moved on. Emma and I have been together for 4 months now. We're talking about getting engaged. Actually talking about it, not me dropping hints while she pretends to listen. She's never made me feel like I'm not enough. Never criticized my romantic gestures or compared me to other guys. Never once suggested we should explore our options to make sure we're making the right choice. Because when you find the right person, you don't need a backup plan. Madison's friends reach out occasionally, telling me how sorry she is, how much she regrets everything, how she knows she messed up the best thing that ever happened to her. They're probably right. But that's not my problem anymore. The funniest part? Madison's sister told Emma at a coffee shop last week that Madison's been telling people I stole Emma from her. Like I somehow poached her backup plan. But Emma was never Madison's anything. Emma was just a woman who knew what she wanted when she found it. Unlike some people. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube, this video deserves to blow up.